What's happening in Austria is the reason why we cannot stand idly by and say nothing, as the fundamental values of a free society, democracy, freedom, bodily autonomy, face an egregious assault. Not satisfied with locking down the unvaccinated, which involves separating and segregating a group of people within the population, not a great look for a country with a history like Austria's. Notwithstanding this, and the huge outcry from the 2 million people unvaccinated in Austria, far from retreating, the Austrians have dug in and have gone one step further by announcing that the COVID-19 vaccine will be mandatory for all citizens as of February next year. I honestly don't know how this can be legal. I suspect it's not legal. The mandating of a medical procedure is utterly unprecedented. And how's it going to work logistically? Will people be fined if they don't have the vaccine? And if so, does that mean that the poor will be the low-hanging fruit for the jab? You know, you've run out of money to pay the fines, so it's time for the needle. Will the unvaccinated ultimately go to jail, ironically housed in crowded conditions with other inmates? Sends a mixed message, doesn't it? Or perhaps vaccine vans will just drive around the streets, bundling suspected unjabbed citizens into the back of the vehicle, perhaps gaffer taping them to the floor or knocking them about a bit. That might lubricate the passage of the needle into their arms. This is why I made a stand about masks all those months ago. I don't have a problem with face coverings per se. It's the M word, mandate, which is the problem, and that was the problem at the time. Sweden were, in my view, the way to go, and latterly, states in America like Florida and Texas, who allowed the public, you and me, to make a judgment about the risk. For example, here's a very useful graph comparing no lockdown Sweden to medical segregation Austria. Very timely, and I think you'll see that the figures there, the cases in Austria, through the roof, Sweden flatlining. The argument for this is even more powerful now that the vaccine is available to all. If you're worried, you get the jab and you're protected. Jab done, job done. If the vaccines work, why mandate them? If they don't work, why mandate them? Seems pretty logical to me, but logic has been another casualty of this pandemic. If COVID passports, which link your medical status to certain freedoms and public services, is medical segregation, then surely a mandate to have the vaccine is medical fascism. I don't think that's too strong a word. And that's why I must speak out. And I speak out, I believe, with some authority, given that I'm double vaccinated and I will take the booster. But that's my choice. I couldn't give an arse what goes into your arm. I don't care. I don't want to know. I will never be interested. It's your body. It's your business. From 3 weeks to flatten the curve, to mask mandates, and now a vaccine mandate, what we are seeing goes beyond the worst conspiracy theories. It's playing out before our very eyes. It's not conspiracy. It's policy. Credit to the Prime Minister Boris Johnson for pushing back on all of these measures in England. Plan B restrictions, vaccine passports, mask mandates, and long may that continue. England has been a Sweden tribute band since Freedom Day on July the 19th. Both countries have taken a voluntary approach to measures, and hey presto, cases fell. In England, Sweden and elsewhere, freedom as a policy appears to be achieving our freedom from the virus, potentially by boosting natural immunity among the healthy population. Who knows? Who knows? That is the view of some experts. Even some of the most pessimistic scientific voices believe there will be no hellish winter spike in the UK. Sage advisor Professor John Edmonds is quoted as saying just that in today's Mail newspaper. Fascinating article. There it is. Sage advisor says the UK will not see a spike in COVID cases like Austria and Germany. Fantastic news. And yet, across Europe and around the world, countries whose failing policies see them double down on vaccine passports are watching cases rise. Even Nicola Sturgeon has offered no evidence that COVID passports north of the border have stopped infection, a story reported in this week's Spectator by their excellent writer, Michael Simmons. There's the article. Sturgeon's 70-page dossier finds no evidence for vaccine passports. Quelle surprise. But why let facts get in the way of policy? Now, I'm pro-vaccine. It's clearly effective against severe illness, and I'm incredibly happy that our most vulnerable are safer now than they were a year ago. COVID is a very nasty virus, potentially, which has claimed too many lives, and it can threaten capacity in the NHS. But not right now. And here's the truth. COVID has an average rate from sad deaths of over 80 years of age and is non-fatal to almost everyone. Nasty though it is, COVID is not bad enough, and the vaccine is frankly not good enough to justify this tyranny. Remember, the king of the jab himself, Bill Gates, said it only slightly blocks transmission. To quote Professor Carol Sikora, respected oncologist of 5 decades and an unmissable regular on Dan Wootton's brilliant show, he said the following: "Words can't describe how outraged I am by the policy of compulsory vaccinations. It's not how public health should be conducted. Consent is essential. I disagree with vaccine passports, but this is an entirely new level of unacceptable." How right he is. Very rare but still documented vaccine side effects are the responsibility of the patient who chooses to get jabbed or not. By mandating the jab, the Austrian state is potentially by law injuring its citizens and at worst killing them. And that's why the Austrians and anyone else considering mandating vaccines has crossed a line. That's right, Austria has crossed a line. These measures must be met with peaceful legal resistance, because otherwise there's no end to this. And it's the fundamental values of our country and society that are at stake. The alternative is not an option. What we've learned over the last 18 months, accepting endless measures at huge cost and, in my view, with limited reward, is that here's the thing, and this is the headline: you cannot comply your way out of tyranny. Now, Big Bird is in the news, folks. The Sesame Street character, a 6-foot yellow bird, has been banned from attending the US Conservative Political Action Conference. This has been announced this week. The iconic star was told he was not welcome at the 2022 Florida event following a tweet from Big Bird claiming to have had the COVID-19 vaccine. That's right, the bird has had the vaccine. Now, I know the vaccine rollout's been going well, but I didn't realise they were now jabbing poultry. Now, I'm not one for cancelling people or poultry, so I think Big Bird should be reinstated. But is it really the job of children's TV characters to advise their young audiences on medical procedures? I thought Sesame Street was there to teach them the alphabet and entertain them with stories and songs and to teach them numbers. But to me, none of this adds up. From which other characters are we to seek medical information? I wonder what Danger Mouse thinks about the flu jab. Is Peppa Pig worried about polio or swine flu, frankly? What is Scooby-Doo's view on the MMR? Probably thinks you should Scooby-Dooby-Doo it. Yikes. It's bad enough that Tesco used their Christmas ads to push the message of COVID passports. Now children's characters are brainwashing youngsters to have a medication statistically they don't need. Don't take my word for it. The JCVI, who advised the government on vaccines, ruled against jabbing the under-16s. But what do they know? The font of all knowledge now is Big Bird, or should I say an out-of-work actor in a bird costume on a TV show. And anyway, this fluffy yellow monstrosity should be more worried about the bird flu, shouldn't he? This whole bird business is foul, and I'm spitting feathers. With Christmas coming, the only thing that Big Bird should do is get stuffed.